Welcome, viewers, to India and the world. This segment in the Nationalist View, we discuss generally the geopolitics, and today we have with us Dr. Manish Dabhade. Dr. Saab, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking out time. And today we are going to let me tell you about Dr. Manish Dabhade. Dr. Manish Dabhade is a founder of the India Future. It's a New Delhi-based think tank. He's also associate professor of diplomacy in School of International Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University in Delhi. So, Maniji, the first thing which I want to ask is that how do you see the current state of affairs in Pakistan in backdrop of the elections? They're trying to put a puppet government. So, how do you see the current state of affairs in Pakistan, and how do you see the future of this puppet government?
Thank you, Arunji, first for inviting me to be part of this very important series of conversations which you have every week. I think it's a very important, sort of turning point for Pakistan in more ways than one. At one level, many argue that if you look at the elections and the vote, and the number of seats won by each party, the prominent parties, I think there is a clear divide, and at one level, many would argue, perhaps rightly, that the independence-backed, PTI, and they in fact won the majority of seats, the larger number of seats, and it was in that sense a anti-establishment vote. Obviously, here in Pakistan, the establishment has always been the army. The point is that, I think one we all need to understand is that this might seem for some a bit novel, but if you look at the backdrop, Pakistan's democracy, and in fact, one would really be going too far to call Pakistan a democracy in the first place, because look at since its inception, it has believed in direct, so-called direct action. So I think the creation of Pakistan itself was through direct action, and that political culture, the role of political violence, political control, I think has been guiding Pakistan since its inception, since 1947, and they have moved from, for example, guided democracy to now, which is called hybrid democracy. But it's always, it's not an election, it's always been a selection. Rarely in history, in Pakistan's history, political history, have you found, can anyone find, for example, real genuine elections? It's always the army's favorite, which has picked up, which has ran the government, and which has survived in government only because of army's backing. And in fact, we see a replay of what happened in 2024 on Feb 8. We saw in fact the replay of of what had happened in fact in 2018, where in fact it was Imran Khan who was pushed into power, backed by the army, and Nawaz Sharif was in fact sent to jail, was sent into exile. So it's the cycle coming full circle, and now it's Imran Khan turned the traitor, the enemy of Pakistan, and shunted out of government and shunted out of power. So I think it is a very fragile situation. The longer term, implication is that obviously it's a very fragile government, and also please remember that Pakistan, PDM, the Pakistan Democratic Movement, in fact, earlier in its earlier avatar 1.0 had the Pakistan People's Party joining the government. In fact, this time, what you are seeing is that they have refused to directly join the government, and so that brings in an inherent stability into PDM 2.0. So that remains a crucial challenge. And unlike PDM 1.0, PTI was non-existent, or was out of, I had boycotted parliament, so there was hardly any opposition in the parliament, in the National Assembly. But now PTI with its numbers is going to be a strong opposition, and they are already contesting in fact the mandate. And just the last point, that in fact once the PDM 2.0 was announced on Tuesday late night, PTI on its official handle, in fact, called mandate thieves. That the photograph of the announcement of PDM 2.0, so they captioned it as mandate thieves. So that shows the complete polarization which is happening in Pakistan.
So these are the internal challenges which we are witnessing, but there are a lot of external challenges also for Pakistan. We have seen especially the issue of Balochistan came up in the UK Parliament recently. Also, our sources on ground have told us that during the last 2 days, a massive army operation has started there with the gunships, and there are massive targeting of civilians, especially there. So, and Balochistan, ever since the election results have been announced, has been kind of on a shutdown mode, and also it is boiling. Apart from that, there are some other external challenges also. So, if you could elaborate upon, that what are these external challenges for Pakistan, which is actually basically making it an existential crisis for Pakistan.
Yeah, you rightly pointed out, Arunchi, that Balochistan remains a sore point in domestic. In terms of the domestic security scenario, other than in fact what is happening on the Afghan border. So earlier, I mean, historically, Pakistan has been worried about the so-called two-front problem. So one is India, and that's exactly why they were looking for a friendly regime in Kabul all the while. And with Taliban, they expected to be much more that problem seemed to have been resolved in the immediate term. It looked like that after the withdrawal of US forces from Kabul. But what we are seeing is, in fact, not just a two front problem now, with simmering tensions between Afghanistan and Pakistan due to the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan (TTP), but also now Iran. I mean, and that's exactly where the Balochistan question, which you pointed out rightly, has become a big issue for the security planners in Rawalpindi. That at one level you are now also, TTP presents a real challenge to Pakistani army attacking Pakistan armed forces. But now in the Baloch bordering the Iran. Side, what you are seeing is that the Balochi, activists, the Balochi, what Pakistan calls the Balochi extremist and terrorists are in fact also targeting Pakistani targets deep inside Pakistan itself. So I think that is the broader in terms of security. But the real challenge, in fact, is look at the Pakistani economy. And the economy is in deep doldrums, is in crisis mode. They are literally, living by, the debt is of a massive extent, and the debt repayment, in fact, is running into, $75 billion. Some figures are saying over the next couple of years. So Pakistan has no resources to do that. The external backers, in fact, IMF conditionalities have become much more severe, much more stronger. The US, in fact, has completely expressed. In fact, I did hear the other day Ambassador Maliha Lodi, former Pakistan ambassador to the US, saying that since the Biden government took charge, Biden administration, there has not been any single high level conversation. There has been no visit by the Secretary of State to Islamabad. So they are in a deep soup in many ways. China also has expressed concern about the political situation, stability in Pakistan. Saudi Arabia also has expressed that okay, they are ready with investments. The point is, where is the real political capital out there which can actually exercise those decisions and turn Pakistan around from a very perilous economic situation.
So, what are the implications for India? Because no, ultimately you can't choose your neighbors, and having such an unstable Pakistan, of course, they have been largely unstable, since 1947, and we have dealt with it. But going ahead, we see the economy collapsing, radicalization on the rise, and there are two questions. One is the implications for India, how India should be looking at it. What are the implications for us? And second is, do you see there's a lot of talk about that there is possibly going to be balkanization of Pakistan. So, how do you see these things?
No, I think India is obviously watching, Pakistan very closely. Since exactly that we are neighbors, all said and done. But the issue is, India, I think, has made it very clear that we are not going to have talks with terror. So I think that policy is very clear, and I think we have successfully upped the deterrence game against Pakistan. And the only conversations which have happened earlier and which will happen is only about counter-terrorism. I think India has made it very clear and under and the response of Prime Minister Modi to terrorist attacks. I mean earlier we had the surgical strikes in 2016 and the Balakot strikes in 2019. India has made it very clear that there is going to be zero tolerance of terrorism, and Pakistan let Pakistan stew in the juices of its own. I mean, on own making. India can't do anything about it. And let's also, I mean, if you look at the political parties which have come to power, and in fact all the parties, they have in fact drawn a red line of sorts, that unless and until article 370 is revoked, no conversation is possible with India. So and India definitely is not going back, and is not going to give even an inch on that, rightfully. That is a very that's history now, article 370, so no questions about that. And about balkanization, the point is, at one level, what can India do about the Pakistan's security predicament, or Pakistan's if and
So,
that's
but if
that's
you keep India out of picture now, let's say that Pakistan on its own is going to get balkanized. Is there a strong possibility of that?
No, I don't think we are looking at that sort of future of Pakistan. That there are strong forces which are also uniting Pakistan, and it also means that it has to be with a strong heavy hand of the military. So Pakistan military is still in that sense has a firm grip on all the restive provinces. And despite it seems that there are challenges being posed, by terrorist outfits which are directly attacking the army, but that is not something new, and Pakistan has proved that again and again, that it can really take on such sectarian forces, such sectarian or terrorist outfits. Terrorist outfits for the Pakistani military. So I think they are very clear that, and I think they have those capabilities, aided, obviously since 70s and 80s by the Western powers, including the US. So they have those military capabilities to tackle such threats to Pakistan's territorial integrity.
One more question is that initially after the election results, the first response of United States, it was a very meek response, and they said, "Okay, we are ready to work with the new government which will come." Though everybody knew the writing on the wall was very clear, and it was very open that they have kind of stolen the mandate, the Pakistani military. So, do you see? And then gradually, some rumblings started, and then the State Department came out with a concern over the restriction of speech and other restrictions in the elections. But so far, so good. How do you see the West looking at Pakistan? How the West is looking at the situation, the current state of affairs in Pakistan, and are they comfortable actually? Whatever they may say, are they more comfortable in terms of working with a puppet government which will be controlled by army?
No, I think West, if you look at historically, especially the Americans are extremely happy to work with the generals, because for them it's a one point sort of window of contact and getting things done. So I think in that sense they are not extremely worried about the political, because ultimately the levers of power are very much with Rawalpindi, with the GHQ. The issue is about the general political stability and the severe economic crisis which Pakistan is in. So I think to what extent will that have an international fallout? Because that will put pressures on Pakistan itself, and also their dealings with, for example, with China, with the US, with Saudi Arabia. So because they are looking for, Pakistan is looking for more and more investments, more and more aid. Forget investments, more and more aid to bail them out on a regular basis. So I think that is in fact tight, and more conditionalities are coming from the IMF, obviously dictated largely by the US. So there is not much, in fact, even the Americans can do to what Pakistan is going through, because at one level, obviously with the post withdrawal from Kabul, I think there is sort of a consensus within the American establishment that we have had enough of Pakistan's double dealing on terrorism. We have had enough of their India bogey, which is actually completely bogus. And the reason is that look at what is happening in South Asia. That India is on a completely different path heading to become the third largest economy in the world, and giving immense, in fact, stakes in the US-India relationship. Look at Bangladesh. Bangladesh, obviously, with Sheikh Hasina government, the Americans do have problems even out there. But still, I mean, in terms of a democracy, it is a stable democracy and a prospering democracy, a prospering Islamic nation in South Asia. And look at what Pakistan is doing. So Pakistan is completely, in fact, talking the language of geoeconomics, talking the language of, in fact, the Bhajpa doctrine was exactly that, that in Pakistan needs to shift from geopolitics to geoeconomics. But look at what is happening now. In fact, many argue rightly that it is now the revenge of geopolitics, that you are in fact now facing exactly what you have been doing all these years. And look at Afghanistan, look at Iran, look at India, because you securitized the entire conversations, you securitized your foreign policy. So you are paying the price of doing that. And so any talk of shift to geoeconomics would not be taken seriously by anybody, including your so-called friends who are not even friends now. The Americans, even China, in fact, is also is extremely worried about its own investments via CPEC, and is not ready to invest, put in more money because of threats to its investments and also threats to its nationals. Saudi Arabia, UAE also are, they are in fact overflowing with their sovereign funds, but are extremely reluctant because they are not sure about what the economic road ahead would be for Pakistan.
So, as you mentioned, that Pakistan is facing a lot of challenges, and we have seen that. See, the foreign policy of Pakistan is also driven by its establishment, what you call as Pakistan Army or Pakistan military. The foreign policy is in tatters. The Pakistan is imploding from inside in terms of the security aspect. You have problems in Balochistan, Sindh, in every province, in even POJK, you have huge problems. So, and then there was attack last year, on the core commander's house. Iran has, kind of made a venture into the Pakistani territory and bombed there. So, do you see General Asim Munir? There is a huge challenge to, his leadership. So, and there's a lot of rumblings which are going on because our sources have told us that because of the failure to manage elections, so the inquiries have been opened against at least two lieutenant generals and a couple of and then some brigadiers and other senior officials also who failed to deliver the required mandate for Pakistani army in the election. Do you see General Asim Munir kind of basically losing the grip? And also, do you think that is there a possibility that there could be a change in the top in Pak military?
You are absolutely right that Asim Munir, General Asim Munir, in fact, seems to have lost the plot entirely in handling or in gauging the sort of resentment with which Imran Khan has been able to, build up amongst the larger Pakistan populace. And in fact, the rigging, if you look at the reports which have come in different newspapers, but especially in different social media, the level of rigging has been unprecedented. I mean, it is not that Pakistan army has not done rigging, but the level has been unprecedented. It has been much more blatant to an extent that election commissioner of Rawalpindi, in fact, made a public claim that in fact he had rigged elections in the area where he was heading. So the point is, there is a different challenge for General Asim Munir, other than losing, in fact, the popular in fact the grip of the establishment, in that sense of predicting or in terms of producing an outcome which he desired, along with the Sharifs. I think that has become a big question mark on the capacity of General Asim Munir to really change the political regime in Pakistan. But I think there is also a problem, like unlike previous dictators, for example, look at Zia, look at Ayub Khan earlier, or even Pervez Musharraf. So these generals, in fact, had some sort of popular goodwill, some sort of popular expectations. With General Asim Munir, that is not the case. So he has a double challenge, that within the establishment itself, that he is losing credibility because he could manage a transition to the Sharif government on expected lines, with a much, and with PTI completely. And this is, it's indeed very surprising and really thumbing a nose at General Asim Munir, that despite PTR not being in the game, despite PTR's bat being snatched in the election match, they came up with, the independents, obviously backed by PTI, won 91 seats. So I think 93 seats. So I think that is a big, question mark, that how did that happen? And in fact, what Imran Khan successfully did, which was the case, that the Pakistan generals always had religion, always talked about religion, always talked about nationalism, always talked about economic issues, and all these three planks were completely taken away by Imran Khan. So that produced a massive, and they just couldn't, control that narrative, that now Imran Khan was talking about about the religious, being much more religious and wanting Pakistan to be a much more religious state in terms of nationalism, that he was the one who actually would be taking care of the national interest, and also about economic interest. So I think these were the three key narratives which Pakistan generals always had on their side. But I think these were completely snatched and, in that sense, proven through the electoral results. So I think Asim Munir does face serious challenges, but I don't really see a change of guard happening at. I think in fact, he is looking for a next term, but I don't think that looks possible with what has happened in these round of elections.
One last question. How do you see the future of Imran Khan and PTI in Pakistan politics? Is he going to survive? Because he's against, fighting against a formidable challenger, which is the Pakistan military or the Pakistan establishment. So, do you see any future? And also in this context, do you see the way things are moving in Pakistan, as you earlier mentioned in the conversation, that it's now completely polarized kind of a situation there. So do you see more escalation in the civil strife, more political violence, more street violence? How do you look at these two things in terms of future of Imran Khan and PTI? Because that's intrinsically linked also to this aspect, that whether there is going to be, the increase in civil strife or increase in political violence.
Let me take the second question first. PDM 2.0. I think PTI has made it very clear that they are going to, in fact, they are already approaching tribunals, they are approaching courts, and want prove that, that elections have been rigged against them. So they are not giving it up. In fact, there was just a news report a couple of hours ago that Imran Khan or his party are in fact writing to the IMF that this is not a legitimate government. So the legitimacy, the political legitimacy of the government is definitely being questioned. And again, let's not forget, as I said earlier in the initial response itself, that PPP is not part of the government. So there is an inherent instability built into this PDM 2.0. How long it will last remains an open question, because it is being increasingly that PTI and Imran Khan are not going to sit idle. They are very keen to challenge, because they completely see this as a stolen mandate. And one of the things, in fact, very surprisingly, that earlier, the Nawaz Sharifs used to talk about vote ko izzat do. Now it is really the PTI, Imran Khan, talking about vote ko izzat do. So I think they are not giving up on that. And the voter base, if you look at, on the Imran Khan, coming to Imran Khan, I think looking at, last 50 years, the Pakistan democratic sort of setup was dominated by, on one side was Sharifs and earlier Bhuttos. So they have been rotating power amongst themselves. So Imran Khan has surely, definitely emerged as a third force. And please look at the voter base. They are young, they are urban, they are extremely articulate. And please remember that despite his party not being allowed to campaign, despite his party was not even allowed to hold electoral, any political rally, even a street corner meeting, only by the power of technology, by the power of social media, they were able to reach out to a much larger population and in fact get those votes. In fact, many say that, if the elections would have been conducted independently in a fair manner, Imran Khan would have easily crossed 2/3 majority in the National Assembly. So Imran Khan surely has emerged as a third force in Pakistan politics, and I'm sure he is going to stay. Please also don't forget that the Pakistani army has worked with Imran Khan earlier, and it is not entirely possible, or it is not impossible that Pakistan army will reach out, or Imran Khan in fact would reach out to the Pakistan army in the future if things go wrong, if things go south in the PDM 2.0. So in that sense, and again, please also remember that I mean, the support for Imran Khan is not only in the urban areas, and as I said, also in the urban, strongholds, but it is also, I mean, even in the establishment itself. I mean, you pick up the military, you pick up the judiciary, you pick up the media. In fact, there are very strong voices now in favor of Imran Khan. So even in establishment is really split down the middle about their support for Imran Khan, because they really see, in fact, the last 50 years as wasted years, sorry, because of the Sharifs and the Bhuttos. So Imran Khan is here to stay.
Okay, so thank you very much, Dr. Manish, and for taking out time. And we'll come to the end of this segment, and we'll very soon, bring another episode, and we'll discuss with one of our experts regarding geopolitics, the contemporary geopolitical issues. And thank you once again. And if you have liked the video, please share it, subscribe to the channel. You can press the bell icon, and you will get the notifications. And thank you very much, and thank you, Dr. Manish.
Thank you so much for having me.